from my great challenge. Welcome back to another episode of Anyone Can Quilt. Let me show you what we are doing today. You're going to do your first table runner. Yes, this is Ohio Star pattern. I'm going to show you how to do one block and then how to assemble them this way, and I'm going to give you pointers on how to make this a table runner, because Sophia here is not going to do a table runner. I'm actually starting a quilt for my mom. Okay. Alright, so stay tuned, watch the video to learn how to make this beautiful star pattern. There's a lot of variant to the Ohio Star pattern, by the way. Some of them are just little squares here, some of them are half this way where it's all dark side and then the other one is light side. It's a very interesting and easy to make pattern. It really is. So let's get started, and then I'll show you how to do this whole strip here so you can make your first table runner using all the directions I gave you in the past videos. Same thing than we did with this. Okay, it doesn't change. This is the basics. You're just going to do the same thing. You're just basically going to make a border around it. You're going to put a sandwich with the batting. You're going to do the sewing, and it's basically going to be a table runner. So let's get started, and just for the purpose of being able to keep the video a little bit shorter than usual, I already pre-cut them. So I'm going to show you where they go. This is the one I did earlier. So what you're going to need is 4 squares that are 3.5 by 3.5 inches. Okay, and those 4 squares are going to be your corners right here. So again, these are 3.5 by 3.5 in your background colors. So for me, it's kind of like a sandy beige. I don't want the fabric to be too busy with this pattern here. If I had a pattern with another pattern, it'd be kind of a mess. The other 2 pieces that you want are these. These are 2 squares that are 4.5 by 4.5. So again, you have 4 that are 3.5 by 3.5, and you have 2 that are 4.5 by 4.5. And these we're going to use to make these here, which are hourglass. So we're going to start by doing half square triangle, which I showed you to do, how to do the first video, and but don't worry, I'm going to show you how to do that again. Okay, so you get 2 of those, and then in your pattern you're going to cut 2 squares that are 4.5 by 4.5 inches, and 1 square that's going to be 3.5 by 3.5, and that square is actually the one that goes in the middle. So you have 2 that are 4.5 by 4.5, and these are the ones we're going to use to do the half square triangle and then the hourglass. So let's get started with that, because the other pieces we're not going to cut them. So just like I showed you the last time we did half square triangles, you start with putting the right side with the right side. So this one is a plain fabric that doesn't have any pattern, so it doesn't really matter which way I put it. Okay, so you just put them right side to right side, and you align them. And you're going to take your ruler and you're going to make a line from corner to corner. All right, and we're going to sew a straight line at 1/4 of an inch from this mark here, and then on the other side 1/4 of an inch as well. And for the purpose of this video, I'm using a thread that is much darker than I should be using, but I'm doing this on purpose so you can see my sewing line. Okay, so I'm aligning my foot right here on my line that I've drawn with the pencil, and I'm exactly at 1/4 of an inch from that line. Needle down and make a straight line. Okay, you want to go a little bit over. Now what I'm going to do is pull my needle up, move my foot up. I'm going to pull this a little bit. I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to go right back at it. I'm going to lower my foot at the mark right here that I drew earlier, and I'm going to sew a straight line again at 1/4 of an inch from the line that I marked. Right, so if you remember from the half square triangle, you have a marked line here you did with your pen or your pencil, and then you have a sewing line on both sides at 1/4 inch. Okay, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this one. I'm not going to film that because you've already seen it. Draw on the light side, okay? And same thing, we're going to do a straight stitch line on both sides at 1/4 inch. Right, so now that leaves me with 2 squares that have those lines, and what I'm going to do is put my ruler right on the line that I've drawn earlier, and I'm going to cut them in half. And that's going to give me, oops, a little thread that didn't get cut. That's going to give me 1 half square triangle, and here's the other one. So all together, you end up with 4 half square triangle. But we're not going to stop here because remember, we're making the hourglass pattern this time around. All right, so let me go and press this, and again you press them towards the dark side like this, so that the fold here is hidden underneath the dark side. So let me do that. I'll be right back, and then we'll do the hourglass. So here we go, they all pressed to the dark side. And what I'm going to do now is remove the dog ears, just a little tail right here. So this is 1 half square triangle. There we go. 2 half square triangle, 3. Okay, so now I have 4 half square triangle. All right, so this is what we're going to do because we're doing an hourglass, okay? And the hourglass is basically this shape right here where you have 2 triangles facing each other in the opposite colors. So in order to do that, we're just going to work with 2 right now. You're going to take one of your half square triangle, and you're going to take a second one, and you're going to place it on top of it with opposite colors or opposite pattern if you're working with patterns. So that means that when I flip like this, I have the dark and the light, and when I flip this way, I have the light and the dark, okay? So you're going to align them, and guess what? We're doing the exact same process. We're going to draw a line right here from corner to corner, and we're going to sew a straight stitch line at 1/4 inch from that line on both sides. So here and here. So here it is. I have my 2 sewing lines right here, and they are again at 1/4 inch from the line I drew earlier. And same process, you're going to cut that right there on the line you've drawn earlier, and what it's going to give you is an hourglass. Okay, so this one you can press. It doesn't matter which way you press it because technically it has a dark side and a light side anyway. So let me do the other one, and again just to make sure that you understand how to do this, I'm going to do the second one. Right, you place the light side over the dark side, right, so they're in opposite like this. Make sure they're nicely aligned. That's why it's important to cut accurately, because otherwise everything gets askew. And trust me, 1/4 inch, an 1/8 inch, a 1/16 inch will make a big difference. So let me go ahead and make my 2 sewing lines and cut them, and then I'll press them and be right back. So now I have 4 hourglass, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So same thing, we're gonna cut the dog ears right here. I have some. This is the cheapo fabric, fat quarters from Joann's. They constantly fray. This is where it's important to get good fabric, because this one, on top of fraying all over the place, it's also stretching. Okay, so we got 2, 3, 3, 4. Okay, so let's assemble the Ohio star because we are done. Right, so to assemble it, this is what you're gonna do. You remember you have your 4 pieces that are 3.5 by 3.5, and you have this one that's 3.5 by 3.5. All right, so this is how you do it. You have one here that's going to be the corner. This one is going this way. You put another corner right here, and then we're gonna start over right here. This one goes this way like a real hourglass. This one is the middle part. It goes right here. And then you have another hourglass this way. Then we're going to put another corner right here. This hourglass goes sideways and this one goes this way. All right. So like everything we do in quilting, we're going to start by the top row. I'm going to sew this one here at a 1/4 inch seam. And then this one here at a 1/4 inch seam. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to do the one in the middle. Same thing. I'm going to do this one here at a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to do this one here at a 1/4 inch seam. And then we repeat the process with the one at the bottom. And that's going to leave us with 3 bands. Once that's done, we're then going to take this band and sew it this way, basically at a 1/4 inch seam. So let me join those 3 rows so that we can get to the next step. So now I have my 3 bands, right? And I'm going to join them to do the full pattern. So you take your top one, I've pressed them already, by the way, and you're going to flip it over and you're going to align it with the one that's underneath it. Now where you want to be careful here, and I'm going to close up so you can see what I'm doing. So you want to make sure the seams are aligned. If you're afraid your fabric is going to shift, you just go ahead and pin it. And if you want to, you can even pin it right there in the seam. You see the seam right here? Okay, I have thread all over. Hold on. There we go. All right, so I'm pinning from this seam here and I'm grabbing the one underneath like this. All right, so that allows me to have this seam matching this one, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to grab my seam right here and I'm going to grab the seam underneath it like this and pin it. So that way my seams are not moving, and when I go ahead and sew, I'm going to remove the needles or the pins at the last second. So now we have the top part down. All I have to do is take this bottom here, flip it over, and we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam mark right here. Same thing, we want to make sure that the seams align and we don't have kind of like a overlap where one is a little bit more to the left or to the right. All right, so here we go. We have an Ohio star, and if you want to look at the back, this is what it looks like. And I actually press those 2 open because there's a lot of bulk here and here. It allows you to kind of, you know, limit the amount of bulk you're going to have, particularly if you're going to machine quilt it in the long run. So what I'm going to do now is square it off, and I know that this particular block is supposed to be 9 by 9, so I'm just going to put it right here. I'm going to put this corner right here and move it down this way, and I'm going to just cut off whatever is poking from that line, which is not a lot, but I just want, well, I'm not really squaring it off. Yeah, I am. I'm straightening it. I'm just making the edges a bit more straight. Okay, let me flip it. Now I know I have this here is a straight line, so I'm going to align it here to my line, put it right here at the corner, and I know that it's supposed to be 9 inches. So I'm just gonna go right here. I'm aligning myself to the line that meets that particular corner right here. Look at how much I have that's off, and that's because I'm mixing a good fabric, the dark one, with a cheapo from Joann's, and that fabric, I'm telling you, it stretches. All right, for this one I have the 2 corners that are squared off, right? So I'm gonna put it right here, aligned here and aligned here. All right, and technically, oops, whatever pokes out on this side, which is barely anything at all, so I'm a little bit short here, that's fine. I'll compensate when I do the actual quilting and the sashing. All right, so let me move this down here, and same thing, I'm gonna line it right here, and I'm just going to cut off the edges, right? So I have something that's a little bit more square with straight line. So now I did a few more of these, and here they are. So I have 2 like this, and I made 1 with a lighter color. All right, let me move my machine. So what I'm gonna do now, because I'm making a table runner, and if you're following along with me, you're gonna be making your first table runner as well. And next week we'll make one for the holiday. So this is what it would look like if I had all 3 with a sashing in the middle. Okay, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do the strip that goes here, and during the week, because this is 9, 9 and 9, so that's 27 inches, I'm going to add a good 1.5, so that'd be 30 inch, right? And then I'm gonna add a border, so that's gonna be a good 35 inch, right? I'm gonna keep doing this pattern. I'm gonna do a row like this of 3 with the band, which I'm gonna do right now. Another row of 3, but except that the next one, I'm gonna have 2 of these, 1 here, and 1 of this in the middle. And then I'm gonna add another row that's gonna be a repeat of that. And all of them are gonna have a strip in between, okay? But I'll show you next week. And then I'll do a big band like this that goes from one side to the other. So in the end, I'm gonna have a big square with 9 of those patches all together, and I'll have a lap quilt, and that lap quilt ultimately will be a gift to my mom for her Christmas. So let me show you how to do the bands, and I'll be right back. Let me pick a fabric, which actually I picked already. I'm gonna go with this kind of like melted butter. All I'm gonna do is pick a strip, so let me see what it would look like. Right. So it has this old world look to it. I really like it. And then the yellow is the same one that's in the background of these little flowers here, and then you get it as a repeat right here as well in the flowers. So what I'm going to do is cut a strip that's going to be, well, I need 1 here and 1 here, and this is 9, so I need at least 20 inches of a yellow strip. And I'm going to do it, instead of doing it by 1.5, I'm going to do it 2.5 in width. And I know I need 20 inches, so I'm just gonna see, this fabric is not aligned either, so I'm gonna cut off whatever I have, whoops, that is not straight. Right. Okay, and you know what? I'm gonna use this instead because I really don't have a lot of space here, and my mat is too small, you guys. So I'm gonna cut a 2.5 strip. So this is 1, 2. Here's 2.5 and 2.5. Okay, I'm aligned here and here and here. That's good. Okay, here's 1. And here's the second one. Okay, so I have 2 strips. So now let me get my blocks back. All right, so I have black flower and black, right? And each strip is gonna go in between here. 1, 2. Don't have a lot of room to show you guys. I'm sorry. Oops, that's not it. Where is it? Right here. Okay. So now, why am I not cutting another one that goes here? Well, when I'm done with the quilt and I'm ready to assemble all my blocks together, when I'm doing a long strip here at the bottom of this, right, I'm going to do a long strip on the side as well. What I'm going to do, same process, okay? I'm just going to do this one here at 1/4 of an inch seam. So it's going to look pretty much like this, right? And then I'll do this one here at 1/4 of an inch seam. So it's going to look like this. And then I'll do this one here at 1/4 of an inch seam, and then same thing here. You get the idea. It's the same process. You work from left to right, and you just kind of stagger your work. All right, so let me start with this one right here. I'll be right back. Matter of fact, I'm going to do all of them. And when I come back, we'll have a long strip with my little sashing in between. And here it is. I have 3 Ohio Star with 2 strips right here in the middle. So now I'm choosing to do this 4 more times or 3 more times, depending on how much fabric I have, to make a quilt, a lap quilt for my mom for Christmas. But if you wanted to, you could perfectly use this as a table runner. Right, so what you would do, imagine that this was a very long strip. You would run a very long strip the entire length of your table runner, and then you would stop it right here on the edges, right? Kind of like what we did the last time. So you would have one on either side this way, right? So this is going this way, this is going this way. And then all you have to do is add another one that goes this way. So that one would go from this corner all the way down. Okay, and then you just bind it. That's it, and you have a table runner, and you just have to quilt it the way I showed you how to quilt, by just following the little triangles. Okay, so this I'm going to put to the side, and all this week I'm going to do a bunch of other stars, and I will show you next week before we start a new project where I'm at with this one. So if you want to do a quilt along with me and do the same pattern as a lap quilt for one of your loved ones for the holidays, let me know down below. I'd love to give you pointers if you have questions or whatnot. I'm such in poor lighting, you guys. Anyway, so I hope you got the idea how to make the table runner. I'm hoping I was explaining well. This is really, really cute. I love this Ohio Star pattern. To me, it has a early American Amishy kind look. So if you have a primitive decor, if you have any early American decor, this is a perfect pattern for your house. It really is. And plus the colors that I chose, I think fit that theme as well. Anyway, so this was Sophia for my great challenge. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. I am done with my Sunday quilting. There's threads everywhere and I am loving it. Okay, I'll see you next week. Next week I'll probably have way more of those, maybe another row, to show you how I'm handling this. But yeah, again, this is going to be a quilt, a lap quilt for my mom for Christmas. So mom, if you're watching, sorry, you already know what you're getting. I'll talk to you later, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe. Thumbs up.